In Hong Kong, at least 128 people have died in one of the deadliest blazes in decades. With the firefighting operations now over, investigations into the fire will take place over the next few weeks. The main suspect behind the killing of a South Korean college student, allegedly involved in online scams in Cambodia back in August, has been arrested. The North Korean hacking group Lazarus is suspected to be the likely culprit behind the recent breach of South Korea's largest crypto exchange. A fire that ripped through a large housing complex in Hong Kong has now claimed 128 people's lives. Local authorities have wrapped up firefighting operations, but nearly 300 people are still unaccounted for. Our Park Jun-han leads us off tonight.
Firefighting operations at the Wong Fu Court public housing estate in Tai Po were officially declared over on Friday. The announcement came 2 days after the devastating blaze erupted on Wednesday afternoon. A Hong Kong government spokesperson told AFP on Friday morning that the flames have been largely extinguished and firefighting operations have ended. The BBC, citing the same official statement in its live updates, confirmed the fire was finally under control across the 7 affected blocks of the 8-block complex. Hong Kong's deadliest fire since 1948 has so far claimed at least 128 lives, including one firefighter who died during the operation. With the number of those who were killed and injured adding up, authorities are still verifying the exact number of missing persons. In the meantime, the police said they will begin to collect evidence as part of their investigation, which is expected to take 3 to 4 weeks.
What's next is the search and rescue operation, and at the same time, we will endeavor to effect forcible entry to all the units of the 7 blocks concerned, so as to ensure that there are no other possible casualties.
The Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government has set up 9 emergency shelters for the fire-affected residents. To further assist those who lost their homes and are seeking their family members, many volunteers visited the shelter to help.
We came to Tai Po today to distribute supplies to the affected residents. There are cookies, candy, beverages, and soda, as well as cooked meals and fruit. We also brought daily necessities like shoes, socks, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and many other items. Basically, whatever the disaster victims need, we make sure they get it. We feel it's something we absolutely have to do.
More than 2,300 firefighters were involved in the emergency response, while survivors are still desperately waiting for their family members who were left unaccounted for. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
A key suspect in the kidnapping and murder of a Korean college student in Cambodia in August has been taken into custody. Meanwhile, the crime led the government to create a joint task force as the National Police Agency announced that its resolution to address online scams have been adopted internationally. Cha Yoon-kyung reports.
The main suspect in the torture and killing of a South Korean college student has been taken into custody by Cambodian police. The authorities arrested the suspect, a Chinese national allegedly connected to online scam operations in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh on Thursday on murder and other charges. The suspect is accused of torturing and murdering the 22-year-old student, surnamed Park, near Bokor Mountain, an area known for frequent employment scams and kidnapping targeting South Koreans. He was reportedly dining out at a restaurant in the capital when the police apprehended him. Park left for Cambodia in the middle of July, telling his family that he was attending an exhibition there. With signs of torture on his body, Park was found dead inside a car in August, according to local police. Last month, 3 Chinese nationals suspected of involvement in his death were formally charged and detained in custody by a Cambodian court on multiple counts, including murder and fraud. The Korean embassy in Cambodia stated that the local authorities had notified it of the latest arrest, and it plans to review whether the suspect can be transferred to South Korea. Meanwhile, the incident sparked widespread anger in South Korea, leading the government to send a delegation to Cambodia to create a joint task force to address online scams and other crimes targeting South Koreans. In Morocco, the National Police Agency announced on Thursday local time that a resolution Joint response to eradicate transnational scam compounds, suggested by the agency, has been adopted with agreements from 125 countries out of 126. NPA Acting Commissioner Yu Jae-sung stated that the adoption of the resolution signifies that the world has resonated with Korea's proposal, adding, "We will continue to build a sustainable international cooperation system to thoroughly dismantle the scam compounds." 차윤경, Arirang News.
A North Korean hacking group is suspected of having stolen millions of US dollars worth of cryptocurrency from South Korea's biggest exchange. Our An Sung-jin covers the suspicion and related investigation.
North Korean hacking group Lazarus is suspected to be the likely culprit behind a recent breach of South Korea's largest crypto exchange. According to government and industry insider sources on Friday, the authorities are conducting on-site inspections at Gov't while looking at the possibility of an administrator's account being hijacked or the funds being transferred by someone impersonating the administrator rather than a direct server attack. Though no specifics have been confirmed, officials have noted that the circumstantial evidence strongly points toward North Korea, which suffers from a shortage of foreign currency, hacking the cryptocurrency exchange for virtual assets. The timing of the incident, which coincides with the day of a press conference regarding the merger between Naver Financial and Dunamu, also hints at the possible involvement of the North. The massive hack targeted Gov't in the early morning on Thursday, hacking around 45 billion won or $30.6 million US dollars worth of cryptocurrency. This was the first major security breach since 2019, when a total of 58 billion won or $43 million worth of Ethereum was said to have been lost. The recent security breach occurred in a hot wallet, an individual crypto wallet connected to the internet, and echoes the incident that took place 6 years ago. Currently, all digital asset deposits and withdrawals from Gov't have been suspended. Lazarus allegedly works under the regime's Reconnaissance General Bureau. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung made his first visit to the National Intelligence Service on this Friday. According to a presidential spokesperson, Kang Yoo-jung, the president was briefed on the agency's achievements over the past 5 months and its future plans, acknowledging what he called the agency's dark past, including the creation of blacklists targeting cultural figures and the fabrication of espionage cases. President Lee stressed that the NIS nonetheless has the capacity to play a central role in protecting the country. Praising its recent effort in arresting the suspect in the murder of a Korean college student in Cambodia, the president urged the agency to fully mobilize its capabilities to combat domestic drug trafficking organizations. South Korea needs to assess its own ability to build a nuclear-powered submarine before delving into related discussions with the U.S. Now, this is according to Foreign Minister Do Hyun earlier today at a National Assembly Foreign Affairs Committee meeting. Jo called for a comprehensive assessment into 3 key areas: the submarine itself, the nuclear propulsion system, and nuclear fuel. He added the assessment should provide the basis for a tangible proposal for negotiations with the U.S. Jo also revealed that the National Security Council will lead the project, with all relevant ministries partaking in a joint task force format. As for updating the nuclear energy pact with the U.S., Jo said that the foreign ministry led the talks during the last revision in 2015 and will do so again this time. Now, South Korea and the U.S. share security concerns beyond the Korean peninsula. That is according to acting American Ambassador to Seoul Kevin Kim during a related forum where he added that the reality will keep the alliance robust in the years ahead. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung reports.
America's future depends on Korea, and Korea's future depends on America, especially amid the complex security environment in Northeast Asia. That is what acting U.S. Ambassador to South Korea Kevin Kim said during a lecture he gave at the Dragon Hill Lodge in the former U.S. Yongsan garrison in central Seoul. While taking questions at the 21st ROK-U.S. Alliance Forum, acting U.S. Ambassador to South Korea Kevin Kim touched on the significance of the recently made joint fact sheet and highlighted the importance of the ROK-U.S. alliance for the coming years. As the allies move toward modernizing the decades-long alliance, he underlined the need for the two countries to address common challenges, not just on the Korean peninsula, but also in the Indo-Pacific region.
first starts with having a shared assessment of the threats that we face. Based on that combined assessment, which we all share between the United States and Korea, we will address them moving forward. And ultimately, what matters is that we strengthen deterrence on the Korean Peninsula and the Indo-Pacific region.
Such words are believed to reflect the recent U.S. view that the alliance should play a role not only in deterring North Korea, but also in keeping China and others in check. Meanwhile, he called the joint fact sheet special and historic and said the U.S. will make sure every detail is met.
It is a document that touches on every facet of our relationship: trade, economic, defense, diplomatic, our combined future, the vision of our combined future in not just the Korean Peninsula, but across the Indo-Pacific region. And we will be focused on ensuring and implementing every element of that fact sheet.
When asked about President Donald Trump's role as a possible peacemaker on the peninsula, he said he will try to provide all options for him, but in a way that ensures robust and lasting security of the Korean Peninsula.
So I never want to say never about any possible options moving forward. So on the Korean Peninsula, whichever path that is taken will be based on ensuring that security of the Korean Peninsula is taken care of.
Regarding the possibility of Chinese aggression against Taiwan in 2027, he was cautious in choosing his words, saying he cannot speak to the probabilities, but did say that President Trump is interested in preserving peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. 김보경, 아리랑 뉴스.
Over in the U.S. on Thursday, New York City launched the 99th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This year, including debuts of characters and songs from Netflix's summer sensation KPop Demon Hunters, and yet another indication of the strong appeal of the Korean wave beyond the borders. Our Ian Jin tells us more.
K-culture making an impression, showing how it has secured a place in American pop culture. The 2025 edition of the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade features elements of the mega-hit Netflix movie KPop Demon Hunters. Celebrating America's biggest holiday, the streets of Manhattan once again transformed into one big stage. Marking its 99th edition, millions of spectators lined the 4-kilometer route early Thursday morning as 28 floats, 11 marching bands, and 34 balloons marched through the heart of New York City. The parade featured Derpy Tiger, the supernatural tiger-like blue creature, which is also the mascot of the fictional girl group Huntrix in KPop Demon Hunters. The real-life voices behind Huntrix, EJ, Audrey Nuna, and Rayami, who voiced the characters Rumi, Mira, and Zoe respectively, dressed in all black, delivered a dynamic performance of their chart-topping single Golden in front of the iconic Macy's 34th Street Herald Square flagship location. K-culture being featured at this iconic holiday event is of great significance as it draws millions of spectators in person, as well as tens of millions more who watch the live broadcast. KPop Demon Hunters is also eligible to be one of the 35 animated feature films for the 2026 Oscars, with the final list of nominations to be announced on January 22nd. And according to Netflix, KPop Demon Hunters is its most watched film of all time, with more than 541 million hours viewed worldwide to date, along with being the highest charting soundtrack of the year, with 8 songs hitting the Billboard Hot 100 tally. Meaning the film's soundtrack could make the shortlist for Best Original Song when those nominees are announced on December 16th. 이은진, 아리랑 뉴스.
The National Theatre of Korea is bringing together 4 master choreographers of a rare end-of-the-year tribute, reimagining works that helped shape the foundations of modern Korean dance. Our Pyongyang has the story.
At the National Theater of Korea, the soft echo of footsteps are like a quiet pulse carrying decades of Korean dance history. Inside the rehearsal studio, dancers trace shapes first imagined long before some were born. Yet the movements feel new, as if past and present are breathing in sync. This is Living Legacy, a rare convergence of four master choreographers whose works help define modern Korean dance. Their works return to the stage with fresh color and fresh voices. The program brings together choreography by Cho Hyung-dong, Bae Jung-ae, Kim Hyun-ja, and Kook Soo-ho. Each a former director of the National Dance Company, they have a distinct artistic language that helped define a generation. Across 2 weeks in December, the company will present 4 works in a double bill format. Bae Jung-ae's Seoul Sunflower, Kook Soo-ho's Tibetan Sky, Kim Hyun-ja's Watching the Plum Blossom, and a new premiere by Cho Hyung-dong titled The Gallant. Ahead of opening night, the troupe offered a preview inside their rehearsal space, unveiling key scenes and speaking about the artistic process. The choreographers say this project is an immense privilege that allows them to carry the emotional weight and cultural depth of their artistry into a new era.
Inviting us seniors back like this must have taken tremendous courage, and we're deeply grateful to the artistic director for embracing that vision.
I'm now over 80, and I'm someone who has spent my entire life dancing. And yet, there is still so much I don't know. I still have more to explore, more to study, and more to pass on to the next generation.
For the dancers stepping into these iconic roles, the experience is both humbling and electrifying.
It's an honor to stand here as a dancer and work alongside the 4 teachers who carved out their dance journeys and wrote the history of the National Dance Company. From Kim Hyun-ja, I've learned not only movement, but her love for dance itself, her philosophy, and her artistic world. That has been an extraordinary gift.
Living Legacy runs from December 17th to 18th and 20th to 21st at the National Theater of Korea, offering audiences a chance to witness the lineage of Korean dance carry forward through a new generation. Hyun-yeong, Arirang News.
South Korea's space dreams moved from ambition to achievement on Thursday when its homegrown Nuri rocket successfully soared into orbit. Now the question becomes, what's next for Korea if it truly wants to emerge as a major space power? Tonight, we turn to our correspondent Park Kwon-woo for a look ahead. Welcome back, Kwon-woo.
Great to be here, Dami.
So Kwon-woo, you had just come back from the launch site in Kohong. I'm sure you have a lot to tell us more.
I have a bunch of things to tell you. So, especially as you mentioned, I was down in Gyeonggung County, the province, for the past 3 days covering the launch. It was like, first of all, looking at the rocket launch myself, it was totally incredible and overwhelming to, get to witness the moment. And then with South Korea's domestically developed Nuri rocket successfully lifting off this past Thursday, the satellites on board are now carrying out their missions in orbit. But before we get into the details, let's first take a look at how hard those satellites are working. Even after Nuri lifted off into space on Thursday, stable communication continues to be made with ground stations. Following its initial contact with the King Sejong station in Antarctica that day, the main satellite has since engaged in continuous two-way communication with Earth. The satellite is set to orbit the planet 15 times a day, observing auroras and airglow to study space weather. It's also equipped with a biocabinet to test 3D bioprinting in space to eventually print human organs. 12 sub-satellites deployed are also in steady contact with ground stations as they are on missions including testing on anti-cancer proteins and space debris disposal technologies. While the 4th Nuri launch is assessed as a success, especially marking the first private-led manufacture mission by Hanwha Aerospace, more Nuri projects are coming.
After the 4th launch's success, we are carrying out a series of follow-up and data analysis procedures. We also began full-scale preparations for the 5th launch starting Friday, work that had been briefly paused during this latest mission.
The 5th launch is scheduled for 2026, followed by the 6th in 2027. But Korea's ambitions go further.
For the 7th Nuri launch, we are preparing next year's budget, though not yet been finalized. Starting from the 8th launch, we plan to carry out at least one Nuri launch every year.
Still, challenges including securing consistent governmental funding and preparing for more advanced missions, such as landing on the moon, remain. President Lee has pledged support for the space industry, aiming to elevate South Korea into the world's top 5 space powers. With that and more ambitious plans ahead, expectations continue to grow for South Korea's progress toward becoming a true space powerhouse.
So proud, but also so incredible. But at the same time, there are still challenges and hurdles that South Korea has to overcome to become that major space power, right?
Right. So despite the success of the 4th Nuri launch, one notable point is that the intervals between launches have actually been getting longer each time. So if you take a look at the screen, the gap between the 1st and 2nd launches was just 8 months. But the 3rd launch came nearly a year later, and then the most recent 4th launch took around 2.5 years to prepare.
Right.
So that's in contrast to SpaceX, which has launched 100 vehicles just this year. And frequent launches are essential to prevent the loss of components, technology, and even know-how. And one expert I spoke to highlighted the need for Korea to increase the frequency of its launches.
To keep Nuri's technology and Korea's space industry ecosystem thriving, at least one launch per year is essential. Shorter gaps between launches are possible if more satellites are ready. With high demand from the military, collaboration is key to making the most of Nuri. At the same time, private sector satellites can help create steady demand.
He also stressed that governmental backing will be crucial for future launches, highlighting the importance of making this support systematic.
Kono, it's all about money. That's why rocket projects, space projects are so expensive. It's costly, but something that we need government support for. Now, I hear Korea's next step is now sending rockets for a lunar landing, right?
To the moon.
Yeah.
Yes, and then the Korea Aerospace Administration aims to achieve that goal by 2032. And Korea already sent an orbiter called Danuri 3 years ago, which will continue its mission until 2027. A lunar lander, 3 times heavier than Danuri, requires additional fuel to overcome the moon's gravity and for a soft landing. The lunar exploration program is being overseen by the Korea Aerospace Administration, while the lunar lander development is handled by the Korea Aerospace Research Institute. And finally, the rocket development is led by Hana Aerospace, each taking on their respective roles. And if successful, South Korea would become the 6th country in the world to achieve a lunar landing. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Something to look forward to. Kanu, thanks for coming in tonight. You have a great weekend.
All right, off back home. Have a great weekend too.
With morning temperatures plunging to below zero in most areas, Seoul started at minus 1.3 degrees Celsius this morning. It only topped out at 7 degrees in the middle of the day and stayed chilly all day. However, the last weekend of November will be good to enjoy outdoor activities as the cold subsides in the afternoon. The daytime temperature in Seoul will rise to 12 degrees tomorrow and 15 degrees on Sunday, so it will be milder than usual. Tomorrow night, light rain of 1 millimeter is forecast in northern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and the western parts of Gangwon-do province. And on Sunday night, rain is expected in the Seoul metropolitan area and the western parts of Gangwon-do province. Mornings will continue to be cold tomorrow at 1 degree in Seoul and Gwangju, Gyeongju at minus 3 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 15 degrees in Daejeon and Gyeongju, 14 degrees in Daegu. Winter cold will come around in the middle of next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.